We'll call to order the August 23rd meeting of the Board of Commissioners meeting. Will you please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for another beautiful day in Berry County. We ask that your guidance and your blessings be with us as we make decisions that impact all the people in this county. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Turn my microphone on. Is that better? Approval of written agenda.
Do you want roll call?
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Campbell.
Here.
Connor.
Here.
Geiger. Absent. Getty.
Here.
Gibson.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Smoker.
Here.
Thank you. Approval of written agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as written.
Okay.
Support, Getty.
Motion by Smelker, seconded by Getty to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Reports from state and county officers. No. Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Don Haney, Administrator at Thornapple Manor. Just wanted to stop in this morning and give you a couple of updates on how things are going out there. As you know, as we came out of COVID, we had a staffing crisis, and so we had to close one of our neighborhoods. We haven't fully reopened that neighborhood, but we've put more beds online, and our staffing has improved considerably. We have fully reopened rehab, so we're back up to 21 beds in rehab, and we're putting 5 more beds online in Whispering Way. And then we're keeping the rest of Whispering Way, so 14 beds offline for a COVID isolation unit. We're still required to do that. But we are very excited that staffing has improved and that we're able to do that again. Harvest Point update. Unfortunately, I was hoping to open Harvest Point this month, and it's not going to happen. We had some delays back in the wintertime, oddly enough, with pocket doors. The pocket doors are what go between the resident bedrooms and the restrooms in their rooms. And we waited 2.5 months for the pocket doors. And that pushed everything back. The drywallers couldn't drywall because the pocket doors weren't in, and then the painters couldn't paint, and then the flooring guys couldn't put the flooring in. And then we thought we'd made all that time up, and we thought we were in pretty good shape until the end of June, beginning of July, and then we realized that things weren't moving as quickly as we wanted because the contractors weren't putting the staff on the floor that we needed because they had planned to do the painting and the flooring back in May and June, and now it was going to be July and August. And those staff were allocated to the schools. All the schools that were doing some construction over the summertime need to get opened by this week for the first days of school. So they pulled all their, or the vast majority of their staffing to the schools. However, now that the schools are open and the school's back in session, they're going to be bringing all that staff to Harvest Point now, and we're going to hopefully ramp things up here. And we have scheduled our final inspections for occupancy on September 22nd. So about a month behind where I was hoping to be, and considering that we were about 2.5 months behind with the pocket doors, we made up most of that. But hopefully we'll be open here by the end of September. So just wanted to give you a quick update on that and see if you had any questions for me.
How is your staffing? I mean, are you still low or?
We're still low. We're not where we want to be. We've gotten a number of applications for resident aides for Harvest Point, and so we feel really good about where we're at and being able to open Harvest Point. We are starting to do lots of interviews, assessments, and taking deposits, and folks are selecting their rooms, so that's all good stuff. We got plenty of housekeeping and dietary staff are back to pretty much full strength, if not overstaffed. Our big struggle still is with certified nurse assistants, CNAs. We've got a number of folks, 5 or 6 within our group that are hospitality aides that are looking to take the class. And we're hoping to hold a class here in September and get some CNAs in. KCC is going to be doing a class in October, so we're hoping to hire as many of those folks as we can. And I know that KCC in Battle Creek just wrapped up a class, so we're trying to reach out and hire those folks. We like to keep our staffing pretty high, so it's been a strain for us, but I think we're in a much better shape than we were just 3 months ago.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone else? Any questions?
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other state or county officers? If not, we'll move along to limited public comment.
Larry Bass, 5 East Carlton Center Road, Carlton Township, Hastings, Michigan. And these thoughts are mine and mine alone. I missed the first public comment session on the 9th of August. I went home and I reviewed it online, and frankly, I was appalled by what transpired during those first sessions at the meeting. The Berry County Clerk and Prosecuting Attorney should get an apology for the conduct that was exhibited during that meeting. Comments were not directed at the chair. County Clerk and Prosecuting Attorney were addressed by name, not position. There was a threatening gesture directed at a county official, and verbal threats were directed at county officials on becoming, and I quote, "I will become your worst enemy." I would suggest that the entire board review the rules for public comments that were established on 4/12/22, the Board of Commissioners meeting, by a 5-2 vote. And I have copies here. I'll distribute so you folks can review them. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say at this time.
What day did you say that was?
This was passed on,
No, what day was the public
it
comment?
was the 9th
Of August.
of August.
Okay, thank you. Just to clarify that for,
It'll now be out.
I got one. Thank you.
Two at you.
thank you. Thank you. Any other public comment? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Jack Miner. For the record, I live in Berry County. On July 12 of 22, this commission passed some new rules for the board. I'm wondering why those rules are not being enforced. We don't allow people to come up here and make threats. I'm asking this board to vigorously enforce those rules in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Hatfield, City of Hastings. I would just like to echo the comments of the 2 commentators that were just up here. I attended that meeting. I was absolutely appalled by the conduct of the speaker in question. I realize that to gavel someone to silence, you risk inflaming them, but by not doing that, you embolden them, and you embolden others that follow. So I would like to echo the concerns that have been expressed and the hope that you will review those rules of conduct and enforce them actively if that situation were ever to occur again.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Hang on. Well, okay. All right, a little technical difficulty. There we go.
No worries. Shelley Lake, Irving Township, and I have the same feelings. I watched that tape online because I could not make the meeting. I was mortified. My heart hurt for Pam Palmer and those. And I also wondered why that wasn't stopped. I think probably all of you were a little bit in shock too. But I would hope in the future maybe somehow a speaker like that could be stopped, because that is attacking. And I'm all for election integrity. I'm very involved in canvassing and agree with some of what he said, but holy cow, is that out of line. I did talk to Sheriff Leaf afterwards, because when the gentleman said twice this has nothing to do with Dar, I thought that was a little suspicious, and Dar was enraged that he did that and called him and said, "What were you thinking?" So, Pam, I feel for you, and we're definitely behind you on this one, okay? Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sharon Zabrowski, Carlton Township. And yes, I agree with everyone who has spoken before me. But I'd like to comment on that rude, obnoxious man from Jackson who made his comments very personal. And I took them very personal. He doesn't live here. He doesn't know us. And as far as I can tell, he doesn't contribute to Berry County in any way. Yet he felt that he had to come here and insinuate that the people of Berry County are a bunch of stupid, ignorant, backward country bumpkins who can't even elect good officials. Well, we re-elect our clerk, township clerks, and other officials because of their proven record. All I know about his record is what he told us. And in my thinking, that makes him a legend in his own mind. Our officials have served us well and make this a great county. If, and that's a big if, there is a problem, he again insinuates that we're too stupid and ignorant to handle it. So he must come in and save the day. I don't know how I missed seeing his cape and that big red letter S on his chest, but I did. But that's not all. Then he pointed his finger at all of you, most of whom were elected by the people of Berry County, and said he was going to be your number one enemy. When he points at you, he's also pointing at all the people you represent, and that makes him the number one enemy of a lot of people. We aren't a bunch of stupid, ignorant, backward country bumpkins. So my suggestion to the rude, obnoxious man from Jackson and anyone else who wants to do the same thing is to go peddle your snake oil somewhere else.
Sharon, I didn't want you to be guilty of the same thing that people are saying about him.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I finish?
Okay, yes.
To go peddle his snake oil somewhere else because we don't need it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the screen is so dirty, it doesn't feel me touching it. Okay, further public comment? No? Okay, moving on. Consent items.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of August 9th, 2022 Board of Commissioner meeting minutes.
Second, Gibson.
Motion by Smelker, seconded by Gibson to approve the consent items. Approval of August 9th, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting minutes. Discussion? Not on consent, sorry. Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Campbell.
Yes.
Geiger absent. Getty.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Smelker.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye. Motion is approved. Presentations. We have Brad Lamberg, and I see Frank Fiala, the chairman of the board, is also in the audience this morning to present their annual report.
Thank you very much. I believe you have a e-copy of this you could pull up there, Aaron, maybe?
I will start off on page 1 with just a quick reminder of our primary objective at the Berry County Road Commission, which is to maintain all Berry County roads and bridges in a safe and convenient manner for public travel while practicing sound financial management, respect for the environment, and sensitivity to community concerns. Moving on, yes?
Can everybody hear him? Can you move that just maybe a little closer?
That better?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Our revenue and expenditure on pages 4 and 5, there's a couple pie charts there. Point out to the readers that there's significant amount more revenue than expenditure from 2021. A couple reasons for that. One, it was planned due to being gravel road year compared to the pavement road repairs, which tend to be quite a bit more expensive. And then miscellaneous other supply chain issues, of course, during COVID, getting things done at the timing that we wanted. But as you'll see in some future years, including 2022, and next year's annual report, that'll be getting caught up with and put on the roads and put into services where it belongs. So I think that was important to point out. The next section is titled the Roadwork Selection Process. And just a quick reminder, I've been through that a few times in the past too, but we spend a lot of times in meetings with our townships starting in January each year, planning out the year. April, actually out on the roads with their townships if they choose to take advantage of that, and taking a look at the condition of paved gravel roads as well as different drainage issues. So we incorporate them often, and I know many of you have participated in that process a little bit as well over the years. So the next sections are basically quantities and accomplishments of some of the stuff that's easy to kind of put into chart form. I mentioned it was a gravel year. We put down about 83,000 yards of gravel in 2021. Even though we often refer to paved year, gravel year, it's not entirely an accurate way of referencing. We do still do plenty of paved road work in gravel road years, plenty of gravel road work in paved years. And pages 9 and 10 show a significant amount of crack sealing done, for instance, which was definitely done on paved roads. And again, like I said, we do plenty of gravel work, like scraping and patching as well in the paved road years. You'll notice on page 11, actually, that we did, this is a little bit of a unique situation. We actually did some seal coating in Thornapple Township due to a new 4-year plan that they adopted. So that would normally have been done in a different year, but the way that just worked out with that township, we decided to do a little bit of that quote-unquote paved road work that year as well. Cherry Valley Road was also done, a federal aid project. Starting on page 12 for about $706,000. You may have noticed that got some widening plus being overlaid. Safety grant was received this year. That will not be constructed until 2023. That's towards the middle of page 12 there. And then, as you know, we exchange federal funds for state funds, oftentimes with other counties, to try to get more bang for our buck. This has become so popular. I wanted to point out that a new state law has recently passed requiring MDOT to exchange federal funds with local agencies, cities, villages, and county road commissions. And Berry County is proud to have started that trend over 20 years ago, culminating with the law just in the past year or so that I referenced. So that's become a very popular and good thing for everyone. And page 14, titled The Conditions of Berry County Roads. I'd encourage everyone to take a look at the Asset Management Council's website. It'd be michigan.gov/TAMC, which is the Asset Management Council. And under the dashboard buttons, you can check out the conditions of any jurisdiction's roads in the state of Michigan. Any village, any road commission, MDOT, for example, by county or across the whole state type thing. If you'd like to do that, you can get those conditions. We're pretty proud of the numbers that represents there for us. Sections on page 16 is titled Road Funding. A few things to point out there. Last actual funding increase for road commissions and local entities was when the Snyder administration passed some stuff in the fall of 2015 that began in 2017. And that was, when that passed, it was coined as a good start. Many of the headlines said that, and the legislators said that. And you also remember that Governor Whitmer was elected on her Fix the Damn Roads slogan campaign, actually. That was actually being pushed quite heavily, give everybody a little 2-year history lesson, until COVID came on pretty heavy, and then that kind of went right back onto the burner. So you may have noticed this year a surge in construction, particularly on MDOT roads like M37 or 96 up in Grand Rapids. When Governor Whitmer did not get her 45-cent proposed state gas tax increase, should say technically MDOT, through her appointed director, sold bonds to fix state highways only. None of that money went down through to the locals. So originally campaigning on fix all of Michigan roads without being able to get that gas tax increase, had to just focus on state roads where MDOT alone has the authority to borrow that money and to put the state in further debt to pay that off, which that's the big problem with that issue, is that debt will be paid back so many years into the future and become someone else's problem when all our current officials are long gone. So not something that many are a fan of. Next section on Tunnel 18, cost to the taxpayer, kind of goes right in there with that gas tax increase. I'm not going to spend much time on that because I've put some more emphasis on that in years past. So just something there to encourage everyone to read what we all kind of each pay and what the average motorist pays in the state of Michigan. On page 20 is a tree of staffing at the Berry County Road Commission. And I'm very proud of this page. It lists all of our full-time employees. Since 2021, we've also hired, and these are not listed because they weren't here in 2021, but we've hired Wayne Moore, John Norris, Craig Bodie, Dylan Kennedy. And I can say that the Berry County Road Commission really hasn't had a problem with finding great people. We definitely have less applications than we used to get, but we are still getting enough high-quality candidates to fill our positions, and so we're happy with that, as we know that's not always the case in the world we have right now. Remaining sections of this report are some facts and figures, some appendix referenced in the report, and then finally with a bunch of numbers in what's known as our Act 51 report. So I will not try to bore you with going through that. It would seem like an audit, quite honestly. But I'd like to conclude by thanking the county board for replacing some of our lost revenue due to COVID with the ARPA funds when you went through that process. We did use that money to help purchase 2 new trucks that are being put into service this month. Both trucks will be used throughout the county for construction, maintenance, snow removal, scraping gravel roads, and emergency services. And so that's very, very much appreciated. We think that. That's all I have. I thank you for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mr. Lambert today?
I have a couple for Ram.
Yes, Dave.
Dave?
Appreciate the great job they continue to do. I mean, going around the county and traveling quite a bit, I think the roads are good. You didn't mention what our phaser rating, I think last time when we had talked, it was in the 90 percentile, 92, 88, 92 percentile for roads in the state.
Good and fair. So the roads end up being rated good, fair, poor. We're in the low 90s generally for good and fair combined, with someplace between 5 and 8 in the poor condition, which compared to, I can't remember the statewide averages now, it's in the 30-some 40% poor rating. So yeah, it's significantly better. We're not perfect. We don't have everything in good and fair. And even at the top end of poor, there is some serviceable life in there. So, you know, part of a good planned, optimized system, you will actually always have some poor roads anyway. You just don't want to get them to the kind of really poor, even though that's not an official ranking.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And looking at the Berry County average phaser rating, I see it's 6.9, 6.27, 7.9, 6.9. Is that a meaningful decline from 7.19 last year to 6.9 this year?
No, insignificant. You wouldn't notice it as a motorist for sure. That's prorated out this segment of half a mile times its rating, and it's just the fact that that year was a gravel year. So all our roads, when we do repair, they gradually deteriorate, their rating gradually goes down. So every year, we're losing a segment from, say, a 7 to a 6, or from a 6 to a 5. And when we don't bring segments in a given year back to 7s, 8s, 9s, or 10s with construction, your overall average is going to go down. So that's why you actually see up, down, up, down, up, down. Those are the years where we focus a little more heavily on paved roads versus a little more heavily on gravel roads. We could smooth that out a little bit, but we would lose some efficiencies and some economies of scale by not combining and trying to do twice as much every other year rather than splitting it out and doing even amounts a given year. So for instance, this year we chip sealed, and we chip sealed a certain number of miles. We might as well do more while we're there and out than doing half as much twice as often. It's more effective and efficient. So it does let that line stay as high as possible.
Okay. And as far as gravel goes, I saw Assyria had 3,000 or 3,031. Irving had 12,190. So there's quite a disparity in the amount of gravel from township to township. Is that based on township input or township contribution, or just need in that area?
You nailed it. It's township contribution.
Okay.
And the need's not the same either. There's far different number of miles in a different township as well. So you'd need to look at those statistics as well if you wanted to go based on need. And the traffic volumes are far different on roads where there's a lot more people living on gravel roads than other areas as well. So there are definitely more people in traffic on the gravel roads in Irving, for example, than there are in Assyria as well.
Okay. And I'm assuming they're still doing the dirt road as far as the sailing on the roads, as far as the dust coating?
The townships help us with that. If it's being done, the townships are paying for the contracted amount to do that. We do the prep work, the scheduling, and the grading and whatnot. But if it's happening in your township, you owe a big thanks to your township officials.
Okay, so that's not being done countywide, that's being done based
Correct.
on?
It is
township.
close to countywide, but it's all by the township still.
Okay. Last question, revenues were 12,700,000, expenses were 10,400. So it's nice to see a balance sheet like that where you've got something going on. I'm assuming that's going into fund balance for future projects, or?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that's the gravel year, the COVID, the supply chain, a variety of different issues. You'll see probably an over expenditure in the next in the 2022 year when we come back to do the thing, which is intentional and planned.
Okay. Keep up the great work. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And when I say over expenditure, just compared to the revenue coming in, not over expenditure compared to what we budget.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So.
Any other commissioner have any questions? Catherine?
Do you see any challenges on the horizon, that we should be aware of?
Not anything new. Continuance of supply chain issues. We've actually put in some practices. Our equipment superintendent, Rob Richardson's been ordering things that he knows he can't get if he waits till it goes down, and we're trying to stockpile some of those things a little bit, parts of trucks, so that if something breaks in the middle of winter that we used to be able to get in a day, that we now are hearing our counterparts aren't getting in 6 months. We can't have that truck parked for that, so we're having to increase our inventories for things like that. That's probably the new thing I would throw up, is trying to manage what's available, and instead of what we all have come accustomed to, you can get what you want in a day. It's not that way anymore, as we all know about many things. So, including important things, not just a few things you might want at the grocery store once in a while. So.
Right. Any other commissioners?
I have no questions. I just want to thank you for what you do. When I was
Thanks, John.
working for a living, I traveled them roads a lot, carrying mail, and I definitely appreciated Berry County Road Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do all of the townships participate in either by millage or money from their general fund for work on their roads, township roads?
Yes, they do.
They do?
Big disparities between how much that is, but yes.
But thank you. That's all I wondered. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Appreciate the report. Wait, I'm sorry.
did you have
We had
anything?
2 people from the audience that wanted to ask you a question. I'm sorry, Bruce, I didn't see your hand.
It didn't go up.
It did?
It didn't,
Oh, it didn't.
but I was looking like I had something.
Okay.
I'd just like to say I have 4 townships over there, and I've never had to defend our road commission ever, so They do a great job. The townships are my townships are very pleased with our road commission, and they always express that, so that's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob? Our township clerk in Hastings has indicated that the county road commission for Durkee Road, do you know if that's going to happen this year?
I might have to defer to the person that happens to be here that helps run that. Sorry to put you on the spot, Jake.
No problem at all. I'll get with the Township of Hastings, because I know that was a question that came up a couple weeks ago, but to our records, that has not occurred, that they gave money to the road commission for Durkee Road. So we'll continue to maintain Durkee Road and keep working on it and patching it, but as of current, there has not been money allotted to Durkee that we're aware of.
Well, maybe a miscommunication there, but we'll try to ferret that out.
We'll get it ironed out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Larry, did you have a question? Okay, I thought I saw your hand also. Okay, thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Items for consideration.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of claims in the amount of $131,763.02.
Support.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Getty, seconded by Smelker, for approval of claims in the amount of $131,763.02. Is there discussion? Not? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Geiger absent. Getty,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Smoker,
Aye.
Campbell. Aye. Connor.
Aye. Motion is approved.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval to amend the existing 2022 monumentation surveyor agreement with Whiteman, increasing awarded contract money from $6,400 to $8,400 for the 2022 contract year.
Support Jackson.
We have a motion by Getty, seconded by Jackson, for approval to amend the existing 2022 monumentation surveyor agreement with Whiteman, increasing awarded contract money from $6,400 to $8,400 for the 2022 contract year. Discussion, and Brian Reynolds is here if we have any questions to answer them. Oh, and Susan's back there too. Good morning, Susan. Thank you. So, do we have any questions? No? All right, so no discussion, and I'll read the motion again. Approval to amend the existing 2022 monumentation surveyor agreement with Whiteman, increasing award contract money from $6,400 to $8,400 for the 2022 contract year. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Getty,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Smoker,
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Geiger is absent. Connor.
Aye. Motion is approved.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval to terminate the existing 2022 monumentation surveyor agreement for Pathfinder Engineering per Article 20 of their 2022 contract approval on 1/11/2022.
Support.
I have a motion by Getty, seconded by Smelker, for approval to terminate the existing 2022 monumentation surveyor agreement for Pathfinder Engineering per Article 20 of their 2022 contract approved on 1/11/2022. Discussion, and again, we have Brian and Susan here. No questions? All right. I'll read the motion again. Approval to terminate the existing 2022 monumentation surveyor agreement for Pathfinder Engineering per Article 20 of their 2022 contract approved on 1/11/2022. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Gibson,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Smoker,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Geiger is absent. Getty,
Aye.
Connor.
Aye. Motion is approved.
Madam Chair, I approve for the attached individual line item budget adjustments in the remonumentation fund number 236 to reflect the approved 2022 state grant amounts.
Second, Gibson.
Thank you. So I have a motion by Getty, seconded by Gibson for approval of the attached individual line item budget adjustments in the remonumentation fund number 236 to reflect approved 2022 state grant amounts. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Jackson,
Aye.
Smoker,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Geiger is absent. Getty,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Connor.
Aye. Motion is approved. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, we have none. County Administrator's Report.
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you. Chairperson's report, he's absent. Vice Chairperson's report. I left my report at home. I'm trying to think of a couple of things. At the LEPC, we had a report from Dana Yarger stating that there's this new training, Stop the Bleed, that they've been given to schools and municipalities, and apparently it's very popular, and people say it is really beneficial. So that's a good thing. And then I can't remember the person's name from the health department, but they're trying to bring back awareness for their immunization for infants and toddlers, to get that back on track. It kind of fell by the wayside during the COVID time that we were, so they're trying to bring that back. And they're also waiting for guidance from the CDC regarding what's going to happen when school starts. So that I can report to you. Planning Commission last night, we were in closed session for a while, but we also approved a PA 116 contract to come to this board. Those are the kind of the couple of the big things that I can think of. Solid waste oversight. We are still planning a second hazardous household waste pickup in September. I'll bring a date and more information on that as we go. We've been looking at ways to fine tune that and to save some money and to maybe earn some money. So that's kind of what I have. That's all. Bruce.
I had an easy week, I don't have anything.
Great. David.
I have been cruising around Torch Lake for 10 days, so I also, I missed the Solid Waste Oversight Committee meeting, and we have our Governance Board meeting tomorrow, so,
Okay.
for EDA.
Thank you.
At Hastings Township, they passed a resolution regarding political signs. It seems like on election day, there's a lot of signs on their property, and so they passed a resolution on that. At the Transit Board meeting, they've hired a new driver. We still have 2 positions open, 1 driver and 1 bus washer. We also applied for a Carewell grant from Area Agency on Aging to transport people to medical appointments. And at last night's City Council meeting, they passed an ordinance number 606 allowing duplexes, 2-family houses in the city of Hastings. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Smucker?
I really have nothing. I went to the Transit Board meeting with Hoot, and we have airport tomorrow night.
Thank you.
I don't have anything. I've got a couple meetings coming up this week.
Okay, thank you. Limited public comment.
Madam Chair, I apologize, I forgot my soapbox. I think it's time to have a little review on some certain things. Contrary to popular belief, the First Amendment does not give township or residents the right to make remarks during a meeting's public comment period. The United States Supreme Court stated in Minnesota State Board for Community Colleges versus Knight that that there's no absolute right granted to members of the public to speak. It is actually the Michigan Open Meetings Act, not the First Amendment, that gives residents the right to a public comment. See MCL 15.261. The OMA authorizes the public to address a meeting of a public body in MCL 15.263, Section 5. The right to a public comment period under the OMA is not absolute. The OMA enables public bodies to set reasonable limitations on public comment periods to provide for orderly meetings. MCL 15.263, Section 1. And I would also like to thank those individuals that spoke at the first public comment section after I did, pertaining to the events of August 9th. They were much more eloquent than I could have been, and I thank you. Perhaps it's time that the public start coming to a point of order being called from the attendees if the board does not take control of their meetings. What happened on the 9th cannot be repeated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, we'll move along. Other business? We have none. Commissioners' comments? We'll start in the other corner. Catherine.
Fairness. We had Meadowville Heritage Days last weekend, so it was a big success despite a couple of pop-up thunderstorms and rain. But a lot of people came to downtown Meadowville from within Meadowville and visitors, so it was a huge success. And then next weekend, or this coming weekend, is Summerfest. So I hope people have a chance to get out and enjoy our community. It makes doing what we do here worth it when you get out and really enjoy talking to our constituents.
Thank you.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
No? David?
I want to thank everybody who spoke on behalf of what happened from our friend from Jackson, encouraging the board, because I have to tell you, from my seat, and I believe from the seat of my fellow commissioners, it's been a long 2 years. It's been uncivil. There's been friendly fire at times coming at us from people in this audience, maybe not today. There's been a lot of things coming our way, and this is one of the first times I've actually heard people get up and actually support their board that you elected versus saying you're going to unelect us, throw us out of office. We've just heard a lot of things. So this has been a tough seat to be in the last couple of years. So when we hear these comments, it reinforces that there is civility in here and that you would prefer to have somebody stand up and protect and defend our elected officials versus us just sitting here taking bullets. Because honestly, we don't know what to do. We've had people come in here and tell us it's my right, it's my First Amendment right, it's my this, it's my that, nonstop. So we don't want to limit your ability to address this board in any way, shape, or form. We always want to be fair and have and have your voice be heard. By the same token, we don't always feel some of that criticism has been fair or justified. But that's not our. We take that criticism, wherever it comes from. I totally agree with those comments that we need to defend and protect our elected officials, especially Pam. She did not deserve that in any way, shape, or form. I felt terrible about that, and I felt they're wondering if one of us should have gavelled them out. It just wasn't, it shouldn't have happened. But so hopefully our commitment in the future will be, if you do your part and we do our part, and we all work together in a civil manner, I think we can go forward and have some very positive impacts. We can have conversations both publicly and outside of this room, and we can work together and get some great things done. But we need to realize we're on each other's team. We're not against each other. We're all in this community, and it's been a tough 2 years to sometimes figure out if we're on the same team or not. So hopefully we can take this as a point that will bring us closer together and maybe a little more mindful of some of the things that are being said, so, but I appreciate those comments. That's my long, wordy way of saying thank you, so.
Was that for Dave or for me coming up?
Of course, it's for you.
Goodness, it's Bruce's
I think
turn.
I couldn't say it any better than Dave said it. I was thinking the very same thoughts. We're always going to have diversity and disagreements and different views. But when we lose our civility and how we express those, then we've lost everything. So I commend Larry for getting it started today, and I agree 100% with what was said.
Thank you. And I would like to echo those statements. I would specifically like to talk to Sharon, because not knowing who's in the audience and how they might feel, I thought that someone might say that because you were saying some negative comments about the speaker on August 9th that was referred to, that they would say it was the same thing. I think it was for the support of the board, and I think it was in support of Pam Palmer, all your comments, and I didn't take it that way. But just to be clear, I didn't want you to be accused of the same thing that we were talking about. So, and I I love when you come to public comment. I missed your Charlton Park stories. So, but everybody that participates in public comment, we appreciate all of your comments. And I am hopeful that we are going to be moving forward, and that I see some changes, and I appreciate them, as I'm sure all of the commissioners do. Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move to go into closed session for the following purpose: in accordance with Public Act 267 of 1976, Open Meetings Act, Section 8, 15268E, to consult with our attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with pending litigation in the matter of Yvonne Bergeron versus Berry County, and in accordance with Public Act 267 of 1976, subsection 15268, section 8D, to consider the purchase of real property.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Support, Jackson.
So I'm supposed to read this again. I move to go into closed, this motion made by Gibson, seconded by Jackson. I move to go into closed session for the following purposes in accordance with Public Act 267 of 1976, the Open Meetings Act, Section 8, 15.268E, to consult with our attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with pending litigation in the matter of Yvonne Bergeron versus Berry County, and in accordance with Public Act 267 of 1976, subsection 15.268, section 8D, to consider the purchase of real property. Discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Smoker.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Geiger is absent. Getty.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye. Motion is approved. We will meet in the jury room downstairs. Cher.
Boy, cold air down up here.
Yeah, it is. Michael's back, everybody's back.
Thank you.
We will call this meeting back to order at 10:48 in open session.
I move to authorize the attorney to proceed as recommended in a closed session with regard to the matter of Yvonne Bergeron versus Berry County.
Support.
Motion by Gibson, seconded by Smoker, to authorize the attorney to proceed as recommended in closed session with regard to the matter of Yvonne Bergeron versus Berry County. All those, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll? Is it a roll? I'm sorry, is it a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay.
Campbell.
Aye.
Geiger absent. Getty.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Smoker.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye. The motion is approved.
I move to approve the minutes of August 23rd, 2022 closed session.
Support Jackson.
Thank you. I have a motion by Gibson, seconded by Jackson, to approve the minutes of the August 23rd, 2022 closed session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Sorry, couldn't think of that word. Motion is approved. If we have nothing else to come before this board and there is no opposition, meeting is adjourned.